Here's what's coming up on Inside City Hall tonight.
No one gives more and gets less in return than New York City.
Mayor Mamdani was back in his old stomping grounds in Albany today, asking state lawmakers for more funding for the 5 boroughs and pushing a tax increase on wealthy New Yorkers and corporations.
Families simply can't afford 4 more years of Hochul's lack of leadership.
It's the final day of the Republican State Convention out on Long Island, and Bruce Blakeman has secured enough support from New York Republicans to become the party's official designee for governor. And also tonight, I'll be joined in studio by the outgoing Emergency Management Commissioner, Zach Iskell, to reflect on his time leading the agency and his advice for the Mamdani administration. For the best news, debate, and analysis of New York politics, join us inside City Hall. Good evening and welcome to Inside City Hall for Wednesday, February 11th, 2026. I'm Bobby Kuza. Mayor Mamdani today is going back to the drawing board, saying the fiscal crisis facing New York City isn't as bad as he originally thought. Appearing in Albany to meet with state lawmakers, the mayor said that an estimated 2-year, $12 billion budget gap is now only $7 billion, a surprising recalculation of the amount he shared just 2 weeks ago. Facing questions from both Democrats and Republicans, Mamdani promised he would share more details at a later date. Our State House reporter Bernadette Hogan covered the hearing from Albany, and she joins me from there with tonight's top story. Good evening, Bernadette.
Good evening, Bobby. And despite that revelation that the city actually has about $5 billion more to play with rather than an even greater deficit, Mamdani still tries to make his case to increase taxes on the wealthy and big business.
I'll be right here.
I got it.
Testifying for almost 4 hours Wednesday for what's known as Tin Cup Day in Albany, Mayor Zohran Mamdani was pitching new tax hikes on the wealthy and businesses.
This is the kind of money that doesn't push someone out of a city. It's the kind of money, however, that on a cumulative way and a comprehensive way can help the city to get back on firm financial footing.
But suburban lawmakers weren't buying it.
For you to say that someone may not leave when we are seeing some exodus, to me is a little disingenuous because we are seeing it. We can't keep raising taxes.
Despite making the case for new taxes, Mamdani appeared to backtrack on his claim that the city's current fiscal situation is worse than the Great Recession, revealing that the city has $5 billion more in its war chest than it did 2 weeks ago.
Incorporating updated revenue and bonus estimates and using in-year reserves, we have lowered that $12 billion gap to $7 billion.
But Governor Kathy Hochul was unconvinced. Her spokeswoman said, quote, "The governor's position has not changed. She has been clear she will work with Mayor Mamdani to find ways to support New York City and deliver on their shared affordability agenda." Later pressed on his plan B, Mamdani.
We are going to continue to advocate for a variety of options. We believe that 2 of them that are the most straightforward and critically important are increased taxes on the wealthiest New Yorkers.
Then, blaming his Democratic primary foe and former Governor Andrew Cuomo for the way New York City tax dollars flow to poorer upstate cities.
New York City is still placed on a ledge. First, the imbalance in our relationship with the state is draining the city's resources. We are calling to end the drain.
I will respectfully say that the time for blaming past mayors and governors is past. We need to hear the details of your plan.
Democrats representing upstate New York said not so fast.
I understand what your job is, but I'm telling you what my job is that these people have genuine concerns, and when they hear the things you're saying, they're like, uh-oh, it means I'm getting even less because I can't compete with that type of power. I can't compete with the power that exists there.
I think that for too long we've treated the pie as if it can only ever remain the same. And what we're also talking about is increasing revenues by taxing the wealthiest that little bit more. Millionaires who aren't sending $20,000 to Dunkirk.
I'm fine increasing taxes on millionaires and the rich as long as the people of Buffalo and Dunkirk also get help too.
Mamdani's budget is due on February 17th.
He's kind of starting out his first budget season in a maybe Adams-like fashion and veering wildly from the numbers he just put out a couple weeks ago for what seemed to be political reasons.
And speaking of Mayor Eric Adams, he actually weighed in on Mamdani's pitch in a tweet earlier where he said, quote, "The deficit crisis was never real. It was invented to pay for promises that were never free. The deficit didn't drop from 12 billion to 7 billion. It was never 12 billion to begin with." So you have Mamdani's predecessor now poking fun and saying that Mamdani knew probably that additional revenues were coming in. But if we just go back to even the past 4 years under Mayor Eric Adams, Bobby, Adams was consistently criticized for under budgeting and doing a whole host of different budget tricks, as they call them. So it's just interesting to see the former mayor now criticizing the current mayor. Bobby?
So, Bernadette, in shrinking, deficit shrinking from 12 billion to 7 billion, some of that was higher than expected receipts, like Wall Street bonuses, but then some of it is also savings, right? That we don't really have a lot of detail on.
Agency savings, that's what Mamdani's budget director said that had to do with. But then also, if you look back to the figures, the state and city comptroller were citing that $12 billion number back in the fall. They were citing November plan figures. And now what's going on here is Mamdani, when he presented his preliminary budget plan 2 weeks ago, he was not accounting for the higher than expected tax receipts, which typically come in later in the year, early in the new year, and that had to be factored in. Mamdani had some time to play with because his deadline to deliver a balanced budget is February 17th, so he still has some time. But still, Bobby, it just goes back to the point of if Mamdani and his budget chiefs knew that this money probably was going to come in, why did they compare it to the worst recession that we have seen in the past 2 decades?
All right, Bernadette Hogan from Albany, thank you for that report. Meanwhile, on Long Island, the Republican State Convention wrapped up today. Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman officially became the Republican designee for governor, and the party set its ticket for the statewide elections this year. Our Dan Rivley was on Long Island today, and he joins me now back in studio with more. Good evening, Dan.
Good evening, Bobby. I think one of the common themes from the Republican officials and Blakeman addressing Republicans was that it was time to end one-party Democratic rule, which Blakeman and Republicans blamed on the affordability crisis on issues of high taxes and high energy bills. Blakeman used his record in Nassau County as a counterexample to Hochul's governorship.
This is about comparing my record of success to Kathy Hochul's 4 years of failure.
Bruce Blakeman setting the stakes of his campaign against Governor Kathy Hochul and Democrats' one-party rule of New York.
Taxes are soaring. Electric bills and insurance premiums keep climbing out of control. Crime is rising. Businesses are leaving the state in record numbers.
Republicans made Blakeman their designated candidate at the New York GOP convention in Nassau County, where he's the county executive.
And I haven't raised taxes by a single penny in 4 years.
He used it as a point of contrast to Hochul.
I also work with police to make Nassau County the safest county in America.
Republicans also heard from Blakeman's choice for Lieutenant Governor Todd Hood, the Madison County Sheriff.
We will stand with law enforcement and victims, not criminals. Not criminals.
Republicans earlier this week set their ticket down the ballot. Biotech entrepreneur Joseph Hernandez for comptroller.
We're going to be very strict. We're going to audit.
And for Attorney General, former federal prosecutor Saritha Komatareddy.
And while I was chasing terrorists across the Middle East, I saw right here in my backyard in New York, public safety completely deteriorated.
Before Republicans coronated Blakeman.
Hey, ho, ho, Blakeman's got to go.
Democrats razzed him from across the street.
And he's MAGA all the way. Trump has said so. He has said so.
Speaking of Trump.
Be sure to get out and vote in November so we can save New York State. I'll be working with Bruce very hard.
President Trump cut a video in support of Blakeman. Blakeman returned the favor.
I will always have his back.
Hochul's campaign responded, Donald Trump said the quiet part out loud. If Blakeman wins in November, Trump will be running the state of New York right alongside him. That means rising costs on families, letting ICE trample on New Yorkers' rights, and waging war on New York kids. No Republican has broken the Democrats' hold in New York since former Governor George Pataki, who last won in 2002.
Get out there and work hard.
Ed Cox, the GOP chairman, sees a parallel.
Their party is tired now, under a governor who is very, very weak.
I also asked the Republican Party chairman how Blakeman handled the Trump question while running in New York, and he said that Blakeman supporters Trump is just returning the favor for Trump's endorsement of him, but that he is really running on his record in Nassau County, Bobby.
Yeah, I mean, the Trump question is interesting because tying himself to Trump and having Trump's endorsement might help him among Republicans and maybe in some corners of upstate, but I don't know if that helps him with independent voters because, you know, we have seen Trump's numbers begin to sag in recent weeks.
Right, in particular over immigration enforcement in Illinois and Minnesota. But Blakeman is trying to fashion it in his own way, saying we are going to go after the violent criminals, the worst of the worst. And he did that in Nassau County, having an agreement with ICE. So he points to that record. But he says he doesn't want to go after the people who have been here for a long time and have not been committing crimes, which is a departure from the Trump immigration policy, which really had a hard time distinguishing. It was more of a wider deportation effort, the mass deportations, that did include some of the worst, but also included people who had their visa lapse and things like that.
All right, Dan Rivoli, thank you so much for that report. It is time now for a break. Coming up, we'll bring you the latest on the nurses' strike after the nurses at New York Presbyterian voted not to ratify a tentative deal with the hospital system. We'll bring you a live report next. Stay with us. We're back in a minute.
Every day tells a new story. At Mornings on One, we're dedicated to bringing you the stories that matter most to start your day. With in-depth coverage of the day's news.
I'm Pat Kernan. Here are the stories we're following.
And weather updates every 10 minutes.
Tomorrow, some morning sunshine possible. Clouds take over.
It's our responsibility to get you the information you need before you head out the door. Mornings on One. Weekdays starting at 6 on the Spectrum News app. Free for Spectrum and Xfinity customers.
When you're connected with Spectrum, you get 5G and fiber-powered internet combined for the fastest wireless speeds. So you can sweat for the right reasons. It's only the seamless connection you love at home, everywhere you go. It's only everything.
I'm Sandra, this is Jorge, and we were adopted in 2019. I remember when they first came to us, Michael was already a teenager. The whole cliche of they're so lucky to have you guys, and it's the other way around. They have changed our family for the better. They chose to love us. They didn't have to. They chose us. Family.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
And that's a look at some of what's in the papers this morning. You done with the sports section?
Today's story is about the latest chapter for a beloved local business.
It's a beautiful day with temperatures in the 60s, but showers are expected in the next hour.
In a city that's always on the go, it's important to stop to hear the stories that connect us.
The news that matters to New Yorkers. That's what brings us together. That's Mornings on One.
Weekdays starting at 6.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. We have some developing news on the nurses' strike. This evening, nurses at New York Presbyterian voted against a tentative deal that they had reached with the hospital system. Meanwhile, nurses at Mount Sinai and Montefiore approved their tentative deals. Our Rebecca Greenberg has been following the story, and she joins me now from outside New York Presbyterian Hospital in Washington Heights with the very latest. Good evening, Rebecca.
Well, hi there, Bobby. It's certainly a coincidence that we happen to be outside of New York Presbyterian Hospital tonight when it is the only hospital that has not reached an agreement with its nurses. We really thought the end was in sight for this historic strike for all three hospital systems, but unfortunately for both parties, it will go on for at least another day. Now, we did get a statement from a spokesperson for New York Presbyterian Hospital, and it says the voting has concluded, and we are disappointed that our nurses did not ratify the mediator's proposal, which we had accepted on February 8th. And New York State Nurses Association leadership endorsed. Now, nurses at Mount Sinai ratified their new contract by 87% of the vote. Nurses at Mount Sinai Morningside and West ratified by 96%, and nurses at Montefiore ratified by 86%, an overwhelming majority, right? Now, nurses at New York Presbyterian voted to reject their tentative agreement and the mediator's proposal. More than 4,200 nurses remain on what NYC is calling an unfair labor practice strike at New York Presbyterian. Now, some of the contract priorities included in these proposals include maintaining safe staffing standards and increasing the number of nurses, protecting health benefits for nurses, protecting nurses from workplace violence, safeguarding against AI, and increasing salaries by more than 12% over the course of three-year contracts. Now, just to reiterate, nurses at Montefiore and Mount Sinai have agreed to those terms. Now, in a statement, a spokesperson for Mount Sinai said that the hospital system voted overwhelmingly to ratify these new three-year contracts, ending the nearly 5-week strike by NYC and beginning the process of bringing our nurses back to work. Now, that is definitely welcome news for those two hospital systems. Mount Sinai says that they expect their nurses to be back on the job starting the morning shift this Saturday, February 14th. It's unclear when nurses at New York Presbyterian will finally reach an agreement and be back on the job. But what we know now is that all parties involved in this historic strike want their nurses to be back at work so they can serve their patients and get back to making money. Bobby?
All right, Rebecca Greenberg, thank you so much for that report. Meanwhile, in Washington, D.C., Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick is under fire. A growing number of Democrats are demanding his resignation after newly released documents contradict Lutnick's claims that he had ended contact with sex offender Jeffrey Epstein before Epstein's conviction. Our Washington, D.C. Bureau reporter Shannon Ryan has the details in this report.
Like so many New Yorkers, Howard Lutnick's life crumbled alongside and was rebuilt from the ashes of the Twin Towers. As CEO of the bond trading firm Cantor Fitzgerald, Lutnick lost 658 employees, including his own brother, when the World Trade Center collapsed.
We have to make our company be able to take care of my 700 families. 700 families.
Lutnick was initially hailed for his efforts to care for families of the dead.
Howard Lutnick, a personality this country will not forget.
As New York rebuilt, so did Lutnick, reviving the firm and its charity efforts. In 2013, New York One filmed him standing alongside Senator Chuck Schumer, announcing debit cards for Hurricane Sandy victims.
And they can spend any way they want.
But Lutnick's photo ops with Democrats were short-lived.
Hello, New York!
Advocating against radical Islam, the New York businessman became a staunch supporter of President Donald Trump.
We must elect Donald J. Trump president because we must crush jihad!
Today, Lutnick is firmly cemented in Trump's inner circle as his Secretary of Commerce. After years spent navigating tragedy, he's now facing a self-made crisis.
You misled the country and the Congress based on your earlier statements.
Documents recently released by the Justice Department show Lutnick went to Jeffrey Epstein's home in 2011 and had lunch on Epstein's private island with his family in 2012, 4 years after Epstein was first convicted of sex crimes. The revelation contradicts claims Lutnick made this fall that he and his wife cut ties with Epstein, their next-door neighbor in New York, in 2005, after he alluded to untoward massages during their first meeting.
My wife and I decided that I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again. Really? So I was never in the room with him socially, for business, or even philanthropy. A one and absolutely done.
It's a contradiction he struggled to explain in a Senate hearing Tuesday.
I barely had anything to do with that person.
Calls for Lutnick's resignation are mounting in Congress.
So he's just got to resign for all those reasons.
He should make life easier on the president, frankly, and just resign.
Support from the president has not wavered.
Secretary Lutnick remains a very important member of President Trump's team, and the president fully supports the secretary.
That was Shannon Ryan reporting for us from our Washington, D.C. bureau. It is time now for a break. Coming up as we continue celebrating Black History Month here on New York One, Cheryl Wills will join me next with her exclusive report about the discovery of a connection to the Underground Railroad in Manhattan. Stay with us. We're back in a minute.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
There's nothing quite like the feeling of going to the theater. Onstage celebrates that excitement every week by taking you behind the scenes with the latest news and in-depth interviews of the hottest shows on and off Broadway. So grab a seat, because this is a show you won't want to miss. Join us every Saturday and Sunday at 7:30 p.m. for Onstage.
Onstage is presented by your Tri-State Cadillac dealers. Discover which Cadillac is right for you and elevate your journey.
It's only a hike. It's only made possible by Spectrum Business connecting healthcare providers of all sizes. Like hospitals relying on the Spectrum Fiber broadband network with industry-leading reliability. Practices keeping patient data safe with advanced security. Pharmacies accessing records in the cloud without fail. It's tailored connectivity solutions built for life-changing moments. It's only a hike. It's only everything. Spectrum Business.
Mom was always organized, but she started forgetting to pay her bills on time.
And she'd buy the same gifts over and over.
Telling the girls about my Alzheimer's diagnosis was really hard. At first, we had our cries, but then we were like, okay, let's make a plan.
Early detection gave us time to adapt together.
It's so important for you to think about what you can do and making the most of what you have.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
From my time growing up in Queens watching New York One to my time reporting here, I've seen how quickly a story can change. At News All Day, we bring you the news as it's happening, from around the boroughs to local government to your neighborhood. Because our city never stops moving.
Hi, I'm Shannon Ferry with the day's developing stories. But first,
stay up to date and informed with News All Day, weekdays from noon to 4.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. For the first time in about a century, a new link to the Underground Railroad has been discovered in Manhattan. Our Cheryl Wills joins me now with her exclusive report, a story about slavery and the quest for freedom behind built-in drawers. Good evening, Cheryl.
Hey, good evening, Bobby. You know, we're shocked by the overwhelming response to this report. And there were once safe houses all throughout Manhattan, all of New York City. But we had no idea this one was on East 4th Street. Hidden inside this historic 19th century house on East 4th Street is a secret sanctuary.
Welcome to the Merchant's House.
Yes, I'm excited. In 1965, the Merchant's House Museum became Manhattan's first landmarked building. Its doors opened to the public in 1936, giving visitors a taste of residential life in old New York. This is the parlor, pretty much how the Treadwell family left it. The Treadwell family lived here from 1835 until 1933, and their elegant residence is frozen in time. From this ruby red front parlor and its original piano, to the kitchen with its cast iron coal-burning stove. This is where the secret lies. But when you head upstairs to the bedrooms on the second floor, There's something strategically hidden behind these built-in drawers, not revealed to the public until now. A link to the Underground Railroad. Oh, wow. And underneath these drawers is the path to freedom. Once removed, there's a hatch. That hole is so small. And then you can see this rectangular opening cut into the floorboards, which leads to an enclosed space about 2 feet by 2 feet. A ladder then leads down to the ground floor. You guys knew this was here.
Yes, we knew it, but we didn't really understand what we were looking at.
Now they know. The Merchant's House was also a safe house for enslaved Africans who escaped bondage in the South.
This is very emotional because I'm sitting where desperate people yearning to be free once sat with their eyes on freedom. They went down to a 2-by-2 space. You could barely stand up in it. And they stayed there, waiting for their next move. This was the path to freedom.
I've been practicing historic preservation law for over 30 years. This is a generational find. This is the most significant find in historic preservation in my career, and it's incredibly important that we preserve this.
Architects and preservationists recently went down inside this hidden vertical passageway to examine it for themselves.
I'm not exactly the biggest guy in the world, and I had trouble shimmying down to the bottom, yes.
Wow. And when you got to the bottom, what was there?
Well, there were artifacts down there. There was a newspaper clipping from the 19th century down there.
In 2026, these experts confirmed this passageway was designed in 1832 by the original owner. Joseph Brewster was an abolitionist.
Abolitionism was incredibly rare among white New Yorkers, especially wealthy white New Yorkers. He was the builder of the house. He was able to make these choices and design them.
Brewster sold the building to the Treadwell family in 1835. It's unclear if the Treadwells used or even knew the passageway was there. Historians call this passageway a masterwork of deliberate concealment, designed to be absolutely invisible to slave catchers during the 19th century. Its groundbreaking discovery, a testament to the courage of the abolitionist movement in New York City.
You know, many New Yorkers forget that we were part of the abolitionist movement, we were part of the civil rights movement, but this is a physical evidence here in the Merchant House that really shows New York City's connectivity to what happened in the South, what happened during the Civil War, and what's still happening today.
It's a critical piece of the overall struggle for freedom and justice.
The Merchant's House, no longer just a relic of domestic life in the East Village. Its identity now includes a powerful, emotionally charged monument to the American struggle for liberty. And you know, Bobby, when I went into that passageway, it was so emotional. And I didn't know I was going to do that when I got there. I didn't know if they would even let me. But when I realized I had full access, I wanted to feel the energy of what those people went through and the terror that they lived in day after day. It was a chilling experience.
And they were hiding from slave catchers,
who were
right?
everywhere in New York City looking for Africans who escaped from the South.
And that was someplace that they could stay, but even in the house, they had to conceal
Had to
themselves.
hide. And the original owner, who was an abolitionist, Joseph Brewster, if he had been caught, he would have probably been killed in the street for harboring these fugitives. And it tells a story of how wealthy white New Yorkers were all in for abolition. And that's a story that hasn't been well told.
Wow, really, really powerful stuff. Cheryl Wills, thank you so much for joining us. All right, it is time now for a break. Coming up, outgoing Emergency Management Commissioner Zach Iscol will join me in studio. We'll talk about his time leading the agency as well as the Mamdani administration's response to the extreme cold. Stay with us.
My time at New York One has shown me that in the city that never sleeps, the news never stops. So as the day winds down, turn to the rush hour.
Good afternoon, I'm Monica Burke.
To catch up on the stories that matter across the 5 boroughs, with in-depth interviews from the city's newsmakers, plus the latest forecast. Catching you up with today, preparing you for tomorrow. Right here on the Rush Hour. Weekdays from 4 to 7 p.m.
It's only a slice. It's only made possible by Spectrum, connecting businesses of all sizes, like small businesses, instantly serving up orders and inventory on the Spectrum Fiber broadband network. And factories, seamlessly connecting to farmers in the field with tailored solutions that always deliver. It's only a slice. It's only everything. Get your business free fiber-powered internet forever. Call to find out how.
I'm Chris Jakimick. I served in the United States Air Force and I deployed 3 times. So in 2017, I was serving as an Air Force First Sergeant. Our motto in that role is my job is people, everyone is my business. But unfortunately in that year, I would lose my own brother, Lance Corporal Adam Jakimick, to suicide. The majority of veteran suicides are from guns. I store my weapons securely, not only for myself, but for my family. My service never stops.
At Spectrum Noticias, we recognize that our New York City community is vibrant and diverse.
Spectrum Noticias delivers balanced coverage of the stories that matter in our communities and across the country.
Our journalists are based in the neighborhoods we cover, ensuring you get in-depth reporting on what's happening in the places we call home.
So join us at Spectrum Noticias. We're always on, always there for you.
Now available on your TV. Check your local listings. Also available on the Spectrum News app.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. For the last 4 years, our next guest was in charge of the city's response whenever an emergency hit the 5 boroughs. Most recently, he has been helping Mayor Mamdani deal with last month's winter storm and the deep freeze that followed and has resulted in 18 deaths. Now, Zach Iskell is stepping down effective today, and he joins me now on his last day on the job to talk about all of that and more. Welcome back to the program. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So 4 years, you have dealt with any number of emergencies, snowstorms, floods. There was wildfire smoke. There was a couple of earthquakes, right?
We've literally seen it all. We've had earthquakes. We've had extreme rainfall. We've had the air quality issues and air smoke from Canada. We've had space weather, we've had cyber incidents, we've had shootings, you name it, we have dealt with it over the last 4 years.
Fortunately, no terror attack in that time, right?
Very fortunately.
What was it that most kept you up at night during your time on the job? Was it terrorism? Was it cyber?
I mean, I think at one point it was the migrant crisis, right? Because that was months and months ongoing. It was ongoing operations, going out to these sites, standing up operations to keep up with the flow of people coming to the city. At other points, it was just, a bunch of different incidents occurring at the same time, right? Whether it was 5-alarm fires or water main breaks, different weather events that were compounded by being on top of each other. So over the last 4 years, there's a lot of things that led to a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of things leading to my phone ringing in the middle of the night. So it sort of varied based on the time of year and the period of my service over the last 4 years.
Let's talk briefly about your exit. I know you submitted your resignation a few weeks back. Did you hear from the administration that they were planning, the mayor was planning to name his own person to the job and they wouldn't be keeping you on?
We never had those conversations. I was planning to leave the city last spring. When a number of deputy mayors resigned, I sort of felt like the responsible thing was to stick around through hurricane season and the end of the year. Dean Fullahan, the first deputy mayor, called me in December and asked if I would stay on for a bit to help with the transition. And I told him that I was ready for what is next, but I also believe in making sure that there's a responsible transition and doing right by them and by the city. And so I committed to that, and that was the end of the conversation.
Right, so that you never really got to the point where you knew whether the mayor wanted you to stay or not because you were ready to move on.
I'm now one of the longest serving emergency management commissioners. I've been in this job 4 years, and to do this job well, you have to operate 24/7. And I've got young kids, I've got a family. who that takes me away from. And so I was ready to start that next chapter. I was ready for the next challenge. I've been ready for almost a year. And I made that clear to them, and so that conversation just never took place.
All right, so now that you're leaving, you can tell us all the secrets.
All of them. What secrets? You want to know where the aliens are? They're in the, yeah.
I was going to ask you about Mayor Mamdani and what it's been like working for him just in these last few weeks, and how maybe his management style differs from Mayor Adams, who you worked for.
You were just throwing out a bunch of easy questions right off the bat, huh? Look, I think first off, there's some real similarities. I have been with both mayors during real moments of tragedy. I have seen how, after a 5-alarm fire, when people are displaced from their homes, I have seen the way that both of them interact with people who have been victimized by these incidents. They certainly are very different in a lot of ways, but I think that is one thing that I've seen that's a real similarity. And I've been very honest about this. I've been very impressed with the team that Mayor Mamdani is putting together. I think he and I certainly have probably some very clear political differences, but I think that's okay, right? I think we live in a world where people should be able to work together who don't necessarily agree on everything and find places of agreement. And what I've seen from him is he is building a really smart, capable team. He's got some really wonderful people around him who I've enjoyed working with, and I wish them all the success in the future.
For now, there is no commissioner in place, though, right? So what happens at emergency management right now? I mean, we're still in the midst of this crisis with the cold snap.
So I am leaving the city with a balmy 45 degrees today. So we're at the tail end of this cold snap. But I'm also leaving an agency that we have record high retention, record low vacancies, historic in both levels. 100% of our executive positions are filled other than the commissioner. My first deputy will be stepping in as the acting commissioner until they appoint a commissioner. I've recommended that she would be fantastic for the job, but I know they're in the stages of interviewing people for this job.
So you are moving on to the private sector. Can you tell us what the next
Ink's
job is?
Still not dry yet on the contract, but I'm going to the private sector, and I'll be starting a job fairly shortly.
Okay. So I know you're passionate about public service, and you're also an ambitious guy. I know you briefly ran for mayor, right, and then for city controller back in 2021. So what are you gonna run for next?
I am running to just make sure I'm taking care of my kids. I mean, right now, look, I've got, and this sounds like such a cliche when people say I'm leaving to go spend time with my family. I will never have a more important role than being married to my wife and being the father of her 4 kids. I've got 1 in college. I've got 3 little ones, 11, 10, and 7, and I want to spend time with them. And so for right now, this chapter of my life is really about being a more present dad, more present husband, not having a phone that's going off at 3 in the morning that is taking me away from them. And so that's really what I'm focused on now.
Eventually, though, you would consider running for public office?
I would consider it. I am a public servant. I love public service. And the thing I love most about it, and the thing that was hardest for me walking out of the building today, is I really love working with the men and women who serve this city. Right? Like, there's nothing like it. It reminds me of when I was in the Marine Corps, working every day with Marines, people who are about something bigger than themselves. I'm going to miss that. I miss it already, and that is really hard for me. And so who knows what the future will hold, but right now I know what this next chapter is. This next chapter is about my family.
Let me ask you about the current crisis that the city has found itself in just these past couple of weeks with the storm and then the extended deep freeze that has resulted in 18 people who have died outdoors. That's not even to count the ones who we have learned have died indoors. But you know, there's been some criticism of the administration. I know you testified yesterday before the city council. Is it unfair to blame the administration for some of these deaths and for not doing more to get people inside?
So it's a great question, and it's a totally fair question. I think, look, there is always more that, and especially as public servants, that every single person who dies because of anything in the city, nobody takes it harder than us, other than the families of those that were lost. I think it's also a reminder that we live in a day and age of extreme weather that is really dangerous.
All right. Zach Iskel, thanks again for spending some time with us.
It's great to be with you. Thanks for having me on.
All right. It is time now for a break. Coming up, I will talk about Mayor Mamdani's trip to Albany for Tin Cup Day and much more when I'm joined by my weekly politics panel. Stay with us.
After 30 years of forecasting for New York, I've learned it takes a dedicated team to cover all the weather our city has to offer. As chief meteorologist at New York One, I'm honored to be able to help New Yorkers plan their day.
Morning, noon, or night, our team is here to bring you accurate forecasts you can count on, from severe weather updates to our weather on the ones. Watch the New York One weather experts with your weather on the ones on your TV and on the go with the Spectrum News app.
I moved from Dallas to Los Angeles all by myself. The order of things I wanted to set up was internet, water, then power. I needed to take a shower, but I really did need the internet for work and to watch my shows. That's kind of a crazy thing to admit in front of a camera. Pretend I didn't say that. I got to Spectrum. I was so relieved that I was getting the best bang for my buck. It was a huge weight taken off of my shoulders.
Real customers, real savings. To see how much you can save, visit spectrum.com/save.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. 2 milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable.
The sad reality is fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kitchen now.
My father was a New York City firefighter. My mission, like his, is to serve New Yorkers in a city that doesn't stop when the sun goes down. Being with New York One since the beginning, I'm now honored to join you even earlier each weeknight. Starting at 8 with New York Tonight, we'll explore the latest news developments, followed by New York One at 10 to wrap up your day. So join me each weeknight starting at 8 right here on New York One.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall, where we are turning back to Mayor Mamdani in Albany today for Tin Cup Day. And joining me now to talk about all of this and much more is my politics panel. Christina Greer is a New York One political commentator and a Fordham University professor. She's also a co-host of the FAQ NYC podcast. And joining us as he does every Wednesday is New York One political commentator Gerson Barrero. Thank you both for being here. So Mamdani up in Albany today. Let me ask you what you think about his strategy, because he got some money from Governor Hochul for universal child care, but he's still pushing for more, right? The tax on the wealthy and on corporations. He says the city is broke. We have this huge budget gap, although now the budget gap is smaller. I mean, what do you think about his approach here? Is this going to work?
Who knows if it's going to work, but he did promise in his speech on Inauguration Day that we were not going to be a city that thinks about things in a small way, and he was going to push more and more. And so even though he's gotten a win with Governor Hochul as far as childcare, it's well, why stop there? I mean, there's so many issues that New Yorkers need, and yes, there is a budget deficit that's sort of a sliding scale depending on how we're calculating things, but he made a promise to New Yorkers during his election and on Inauguration Day that I'm not going to stop at sort of the low-hanging fruit. And so I think it's time for wealthier New Yorkers to pay their fair share. So he's going to keep pushing. Whether he's successful or not, that remains to be seen. But I think what will keep him in the good graces of percentage of New Yorkers is them seeing that he's still working on the promises that he made from all of 2025 to the present.
I think that the tin cup concept is old and worn. It's not his fault. Also, that we go over there begging. Everybody knows, it's been around, you certainly know, that we are shortchanged. That's nothing new there. So he's just repeating the line. Want to be creative, sir? I would have gone in and said, I know that I'm going to get the tax increase because you're all afraid. So let's do this. Let's look at the guidelines for rich people. We don't even have to increase the taxes. Some of those loopholes that millionaires, billionaires have and businesses have, let's tweak that a little for the next 4 years. I would do that. That's a more creative way, and you'll get that because there's no way in hell that Kathy Hochul is going to give him a penny in increases. He knows that. It's laws. So who is he playing to? To the people that already elected him, that he's popular with? Let's be a little bit more creative. He's got intelligent people around him. even though I'm stunned. How do you go from 12 billion, oh my God, the sky is falling, to now a $5 billion difference? I mean, even any house person that is running a budget for their family knows you don't work with numbers that way. So I'm beginning to get a little, it's like a little childish for me. So I'm supposed to feel good because all of a sudden he found $5 billion. We leave him enough time, by spring, he'll have a, zero deficit. Come on now, be creative. Let the tax people, they're not going to give up the money. So again, I emphasize, I'm not a mathematician. I'm not good at this, Christina. But, adjust that. There are loopholes. He can do that. They can change it. That the governor will do.
Mamdani has come under some criticism for the deaths that have happened the past couple of weeks because of this deep freeze that we have had. There's some grilling at the city council yesterday of some administration officials. Is it fair to fault the administration for not doing more, whether it's involuntary removals of people who are homeless and don't want to come in out of cold, or, other staffing or something else they could be doing?
Right. As was said, no matter what the death toll is, if it's 18 New Yorkers, 21 New Yorkers, it's still too many. That being said, the way the mayor and his administration have handled a once in a decade, once in a generation storm that has lasted for several days. It's affecting street sweeping and trash pickup in so many different ways. I don't know how much better this administration could have done, to be very honest. There's certain people who will not leave their home on the street. I mean, that is how they view the street. That is their home. There are real conversations about forcible removal and making people go into a shelter or go into a warming station if they choose not to. I think some people also don't fully grasp just how cold it was. Lots of folks, we see this with different storms and hurricanes and tornadoes. People are like, I've lived through this before, I'm fine. So to blame Mamdani, I think is a little disingenuous to do, because realistically, there are ways that he cannot physically make someone come in. And so to put it at his feet, as tragic as these deaths have been, I don't think that we're putting the ire in the right place.
Well, it's not a matter of blaming. He is the mayor. 43 days, today and counting. He'll be on April 10th, it'll be the first 100 days. People are counting. If it was wonderful that people say he'd be, some people think that he walks on water and he creates miracles. He can part the seas. So let's give him full responsibility. I think that city council member Crystal Hudson was deliberate in her language and very focused. And I think you have to. And if it was, again, I'll repeat it for the second week, if it was Andrew Cuomo, we'd be all over him. So let's, you're mayor. Yes, you're a rookie mayor, but you own it. I think he's carrying himself very well. He can help himself. Sanitation is going to be a problem. It's not only picking up what's there they haven't been able to do. We were talking before off air about mayors that really screwed up. Mayor Bloomberg, who was away on vacation when a major storm came. There's going to be a problem, Christina. You know what that is, Bobby? When they start cleaning up, you know what's going to be infested? Rats. There's going to be rats all over, and we know that. And I don't want to discuss people are having dinner now. But the fact is that after all that ice comes out, rats live underneath. They're warm all the way down in the subway holes that we have. They're going to come up. We're going to have a rat infestation like we've never seen. I hope I'm wrong.
All right. We got to take a break, guys.
How's that for a break?
I'm going to have more
Bon appetit.
with this panel in just a couple minutes. Stay with us.
We have so many ways to stay connected. A single touch can bring us closer to the families we love, the friends we know, and the city we share. And Spectrum helps us keep connected throughout the day, every day. Including more ways to watch New York One as a Spectrum Internet customer. Watch Spectrum News New York One on the Spectrum News app, available on all your favorite devices.
There's an international travel plan with Spectrum that was an additional $10 a month, as opposed to paying a ridiculous amount per day for roaming fees. This literally really felt like my old phone carrier was reaching their hand into my wallet and just helping themselves to some of my cash. I like having no surprises when it comes to my cell phone bill. And with Spectrum, that's been the case. So it saved me a ton of money.
Real customers, real savings. To see how much you can save, visit spectrum.com/save.
Every day tells a new story. At Mornings on One, we're dedicated to bringing you the stories that matter most to start your day with in-depth coverage of the day's news.
I'm Pat Kernan. Here are the stories we're following.
And weather updates every 10 minutes.
Tomorrow, some morning sunshine possible. Clouds take over.
It's our responsibility to get you the information you need before you head out the door. Mornings on One. Weekdays starting at 6 on the Spectrum News app. Free for Spectrum and Xfinity customers.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. I'm once again joined by my weekly politics panel, Christina Greer and Herson Barrero. So I want to talk about the governor's race. We'll get to Kathy Hochul. Let me start with Bruce Blakeman, who had kind of a rough rollout this week. I mean, first he announced his running mate, and then turns out the guy didn't want the job and had actually turned him down. And then today he was sort of coronated as the Republican nominee. But, I mean, does Bruce Blakeman have any shot in this thing? What do we think about this race?
I mean, never say never. Don't forget we had 3 terms of George Pataki, and it was a different time, but we still had a Republican that won statewide. So it is possible in sort of the latter 20th, early 21st century. I do think that, you know, male candidates running against a female candidate always get like a little extra bump because there's some people, men and women, who just can't bring themselves to vote for a woman. So he'll get a little bit of a bump there. I mean, it's a little bit of a Benny Hill rollout with, you know, things that happen. But of course, he could say that Kathy Hochul's on her 3rd lieutenant governor. So, you know, let's not talk about sort of the number 2 on the ticket. But it will be whether or not his relationship with Donald Trump resonates in a positive or negative way with the vast majority of New Yorkers across the state. So whether or not the tariffs have affected communities from Buffalo and Syracuse and Rochester and Albany, whether or not his policies on ICE and immigration resonate with voters in a positive or negative way, because Blakeman's been all in. He's Trump's guy, and so you have to own it. All of the hatred and misogyny and all of the things that the president has espoused in these last 10 years, Blakeman is running that through New York, and we'll see if voters want that.
I'll say this as an independent. Blakeman having that video endorsement from Trump, adios, muchacho, you're done, bro, you're done. And first of all, his arrogance, this whole thing of focusing just on the finances and how good he is. Well, the state just don't live on finances. So many issues that we're dealing with. And lastly, Blakeman is just a waste. I mean, I thought Stefanik was horrible as a candidate. She would have pardoned. If she were elected governor, she would have pardoned the state charges the next day in terms of as soon as she took office. He'll do it as he's sworn in, he'll pardon. So the hell with him. As an independent, I am going to be privileged and honored to vote for a first female ticket of a competent person, even though I'm not a fan of Kathy Hochul's, and Adrienne Adams, who I just rah for her on this stage. I think the significance of that, Christina, while you're right that people will do it, I think there's going to be a lot of more voters who are going to be part of that historical place to placing the bet. I didn't vote for Kathy Hochul last time around, 2022, and I didn't vote for that other fool, Lee Zeldin. But this time I'm voting. It's a historical significance. I think many independents like myself, who we won't vote in the primary, will take that into account.
And Kathy Hochul, I mean, she could not be in a better position right now. I mean, she's got all the endorsements, including Mayor Mamdani, and her opponent in the primary, her own lieutenant governor, Antonio Delgado, dropped out. So she's got kind of a clear path now.
She's got a clear path in the Democratic Party, and I think The value added is that Adrienne Adams, what we saw the tail end of the mayoral primary is that Adrienne Adams was a really good campaigner, right? Because she got in so late, we didn't really get to see her hit her stride until sort of closer to the finish line. She does incredibly well in not just black churches, but sort of institutions writ large. She has this way that she can connect with people in a way that, quite honestly, Kathy Hochul has a little bit of a Hillary Clinton vibe. They don't really connect with people in the same way. So Adrienne Adams feels genuine, feels as though she's a listener, but also has been in government long enough where you can trust her with the keys to the castle. God forbid Kathy Hochul needs to step away. And so I think she's not chosen just for downstate sake or for, you know, descriptive representation. I think it is a nice sort of intellectual and policy balance as well. And, you know, unlike Delgado, who all of a sudden became a progressive out of nowhere, but when he was a member of Congress, he was definitely a moderate, Adrienne Adams has not been, you know, far left or far right. I mean, she's been sort of a pragmatic progressive at times, and she's also been, you know, moderate in certain other policy areas. So it makes sense statewide that the two of them would pair up.
Just a minute left, but did Delgado make the right call? I mean, it seemed like his candidacy was going nowhere.
There was no campaign, but he, you know, chickening out and realizing that he has no place to go, he should have stuck in, at least get an attempt. He looks like a fool. He looks just like an unappreciative person. I mean, slapping the person who brought you in. He was a nobody known, and I think he just blew it. That's what I feel.
Yeah, I mean, we would not know about Antonio Delgado statewide if it weren't for Kathy Hochul, and I don't know what his political future. I mean, obviously people resurrect themselves, but as of now, I think that there's he'll have to go away quietly into the night for some bit of time.
And not come back.
All right, guys. Christina Greer, Herson Barrero, thank you both for joining us tonight, and that is going to do it for tonight's show. Thanks for watching, everybody, and have a great evening. We will see you the next time on Inside City Hall.
And that's a look at some of what's in the papers this morning.
You've done with the sports section.
Today's story is about the latest chapter for a beloved local business.
It's a beautiful day with temperatures in the 60s, but showers are expected in the next hour.
In a city that's always on the go, it's important to stop to hear the stories that connect us.
The news that matters to New Yorkers. That's what brings us together. That's Mornings on One.
Weekdays starting at 6.
You might think Spectrum is just for your home, but Spectrum is seamless connectivity everywhere. It's the network making the other networks sweat. Connectivity from an actual internet company, because internet is what you actually use your phone for. It's way more than 5G. With Spectrum One, it's 5G and fiber-powered internet, seamlessly combined for the fastest. Don't believe us? Ask this guy. He's one of millions who already know. Oh yeah, and this guy too. Turns out people like their mobile from a seamless connectivity company. That's why Spectrum is the country's fastest growing mobile provider. Spectrum One. It's only the seamless connection you love at home, everywhere you go. It's only everything.
There's nothing quite like the feeling of going to the theater. On-stage celebration.